Of course, we're always going to have haters in our community that have the crab in the barrel mentality. But for many of us, we would like to see each other do well. And the reason is, if you're a black person and you're succeeding, that pretty much tells me that I can also do well. This is one of the reasons that Tiffany Henyard in Dalton became the mayor, because she's young, she's a black woman, and she's a single mom. That pretty much lets all the other black women out there in America in her same situation, it gives them hope. Why should I feel down on myself? If Tiffany Henyard can do it, then I can do it. So we start to go through a process called identification. And in politics, we call it identity politics. You are black, I identify through your struggle. So because that is the case, I will support you. Just on that alone. It's the same play that Democrats ran on the black community during Obama's campaign, initial campaign 2008, and it's the same thing they tried to do in 2024 with Kamala Harris, but we all know that didn't work out. And this is the same play that Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is trying to use on the black community in that great city. You see, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson replaced Lori Lightfoot. He was a black man, fairly young in his mid-40s, that's still young for politics, black family, from the state of Illinois, has some ties to the West Side, and when people saw him, they identified with him as a black man. Surely he must understand what I'm going through, as I've understood what he's going through, and he's gonna have my best interests at heart. Hey! Then it didn't work out. Fast forward! The horror story with Brandon Johnson was he got elected to become the mayor of the city he didn't identify in the way that blacks thought he would. Again, Chicago became a sanctuary city. Now, to be fair, Chicago has always been a left-leaning city, even according to its governor Pritzker. Now, Pritzker, as you also know, is very big in supporting the migrant crisis.
We have a law on the books in the state of Illinois called the Trust Act, which prohibits our local law enforcement and sheriffs and the like from coordinating with the federal authorities. I'm going to do everything that I can to protect our undocumented immigrants. They're residents of our state.
So that's the governor. But remember, the Democrats lost every swing state. You would believe that Brandon Johnson, who's in Chicago, and remember there was a 10-point swing in the state of Chicago towards Donald Trump, even though he didn't win the state, but another 10-point swing again next year, and Republicans will win the state. So Brandon Johnson should understand what the temperature is in the room concerning black Americans in Chicago. But he doesn't. What does he say in his defense?
His threat is not just towards new arrivals and undocumented families. His threats are also against black families. I'm a descendant of slaves. Living through threat is painful. Why would I want anybody else to experience that? Whether you are a new arrival or someone who came up through the Great Migration from the South. We're not going to threaten people. We're going to stand up and fight for people.
So there we have Brandon Johnson equating the black struggle of African Americans to the same struggle that migrants might be having. So what he's trying to say is, well, I know how hard it is being an African American, so clearly migrants should also, not go through the same things that we go through, so we should look out and protect them. It doesn't matter if they're black or if they're migrants, surely they should also be protected in the same ways that we were. A human rights issue is a human rights issue. No human should be mistreated. But the issue is that you're trying to say that our experience should be somehow empathetic towards someone else's experience. When the reality is that this other group that you're trying to protect don't care about us. They don't see things from the same way that we have saw things, right? And this has pissed off a lot of black people in Chicago, like Miss P. Ray of Chicago Red.
I think it's the most disrespectful thing he's ever said out of his mouth. We, the American Negro people, are 100% American. This illegal immigration, whatever they're calling it, it is none of our business. We are as American as sweet potato pie, and we stand with the American president to make our borders secure and make our citizens safe. It's an insult to our ancestors for him to try to use our generational trauma that we're trying to get over in our country. We're not guests here. This is our country. I'm an 8th generation free American. That's not counting before the 1870 census. So when we're talking about how we're going to deal with the illegals, we have zero American Negro political capital to spend on this. This is our country, and we want to make it great as well.
In 1995, Dr. Claude Anderson gave a really powerful interview to a cable access station in Detroit, Michigan. Now, we already heard what Brandon Johnson said, but what did Claude Anderson predict?
One of the alarming predictions you make in the book is along those lines. You mentioned that blacks will be pretty much a permanent underclass in America by the year 2015. Why the year 2015?
2015 because what I've concluded from analysis is that there are going to be a converging of social factors nationally and internationally that's going to place blacks in a permanent status of underclassship. And we anticipate by that point in time, based on all the research that's coming to us, that the next generation of whites is going to be more anti-black than they've been since the civil rights movement. 2, we anticipate by the same token about 86 million Hispanics coming into the United States and about 41 million Asians by that point in time, which is going to kick black folk out of being the minority in the society down to a minority. We've been number 2 in the society for 400 years as a group. We're going to become number 4. And if we have not gotten anything after being number 2 for 400 years, you guess what's going to happen when we become number 4. Because at that point in time, all the new groups coming into America, they're coming in higher than we are because this country operates off of a preferential acceptance program, which means that groups are coming in based on skin color. They're going from the lightest down to the darkest. Light, yellow, brown, black. And that's what our immigration laws are based on. And black folk would not be able to penetrate through those groups to get to the white society when that happens, because those groups owe us nothing. They don't understand our problems, and they are competitive with us, and we don't begin to be a little more aggressive about being in a competitive posture. They're going to eat our lunches.
What did he say? By 2015, there will be other groups coming into America that will what? Not understand our problems. They are going to be competing with us, and they're not going to care about us, and we're going to be continuously pushed down to the bottom. And what Brandon Johnson is saying, listen, we ought to share our experiences with other people and prop them up, and I don't even care if I get put down to the bottom. I'm very sure when it came time for him to run for mayor, he wasn't talking like this. He wasn't talking like this in Chicago. Because first of all, nobody could predict the migrant crisis. And second of all, he would not have won. He leaned on his blackness to become the mayor of Chicago as an educator, as a family man, as a protector of the legendary South Side and West Side. But now look at who he's talking for. He's talking on the behalf of others. And this is the reason why Chicago is in such debt right now. Although he got a salary increase. He wanted to stop the spot shooter thing, or the spot shotter, whatever you call it. He wants to reduce on the police officers, but he got a big patrol unit protecting him, doesn't he? And it just goes to show you how out of touch a lot of these Democratic politicians are when it comes to the black community. You see, a lot of black politicians, unfortunately, they use the black community as a stepping stone to get to where they want to be. And then once they get there, they forget it. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. This is not politics, but hear me out. Remember Brother Polite? Brother Polite got his start from Dr. Malachi York, and then Dr. Malachi York went to prison, and then Brother Polite started appearing on Sonetter's YouTube channel. Before Brother Polite became famous, he was talking about the community and what the community needed to do in X, Y, and Z, looking real humble, dressing real humble. But once he started getting big and started making money, we saw Brother Polite living a different lifestyle, out in Miami, hanging out with white models, doing all kind of different things. And we already know what situation he is in right now in prison. Booty clapping sounds? And that's what he gets. That's the point. He used the black community for a stepping stone and even dissed the black community. Yeah, I'm glad I left y'all there. It was time for me to get to where I was going. And that's the same thing with Brandon Johnson. He used Black America to get to where he's at, Then he forgot about the people that helped him get to where he was at, and now he's trying to be loyal to a group of people who don't even care about him or his people. And that's the mistake that we've already made before in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, while other groups continue to progress and we on the decline. And then what do? Those same groups that you help turn around and make fun of you and say, well, why are you not anywhere? Why don't you have anything? We just got here and look at us, but you don't have anything. Look at how bad you're doing. Then we want to get offended, but because we get sold out by leaders like Brandon Johnson. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, L.J. Jackson, back at it again with another episode here at Fair Use. I'm out.